Alright, we are now doing Bible literature. Quick recap, we just did the art of black magic, which is the ability to recognize principles, apply principles, art of creating new realities, not just creating a new perception or creating an illusion like white magic or black magic. And then I talked about mind your language. I introduced motherfucking Zulu. Motherfucking Zulu is the ability to speak in a way in which cultivates the ability to recognize principles and apply principles. Because the Zulu language is basically a language where you use words in a principle way. If I'm talking about a hand, depending how I say what I'm saying in the context of what I'm saying, that gives meaning. So it's either I'm saying it in a useful context or in a not so useful context. So depending on how I use the term, that's what gives meaning. So now I'm going to introduce motherfucking Zulu, which is the way that African Americans speak. And the reason why I call it motherfucking Zulu is because it's the same spirit behind the Zulu language that is being applied in the American or the African American context. So you can tell this is the evidence that joins these two different peoples across different continents, despite the fact this is the evidence that we were actually one at some point because we speak in a fundamentally similar way. So 1 minute and 30 seconds in, I'm going to go jump into what the Bible literature is, and this is very important because now that we understand what it is to be able to extract and derive principles and recognize principles, that's the crew function, and being able to apply principles and demonstrate principles, this is the science of being able to read the Bible. What the Bible is, just before we trip, a lot of people make the mistake and they think that the Bible is a historical account of events. And that's what people think. And I have to say that Bible is actually just literature. And the form of literature, it is actually called satire and parody. Parody. So a parody is when you watch a movie and somebody makes a parody of the movie, the parody becomes a retelling of an actual story, and most of the time it's done for humor's sake to ridicule the events of the actual story and retell a story and say, no, this is what it was supposed to be. It wouldn't have went down that way. So the Bible is an actual literature parody for a specific people. And I want to say it here now. So the Bible is not a historical account. Absolutely not. Yes, it might be set. The setting is in a historical context. The setting is historical. So there is factual that there was Egypt. There was nations like Babylon. There was nations like Moab. All of these nations did exist. However, the story that's being told is not for certain 100% historical fact that it did happen this way as it's written. So the whole point of this literature, now that we understand that the Bible is literature, we need to understand what was the point of this literature. The point of this literature, and I'm going to put it out, right? So before I jump into the point of the literature, satire is also a book. There's a book called Animal Farm. Satire is a way of revealing deep principles about a situation, but in a fictional context. Like Animal Farm. Animal Farm reveals the deep truth about socialist and communist states. That as much as people want to strive to be equal, there's always going to be this political elect that will oppress the rest of the people. So Animal Farm is a book that is about animals that take over a farm for political reasons, so that all the animals can be equal. But then eventually, when the pigs, the leaders of the animals, decide to oppress the animals themselves, and the state of the animals is worse than it was when they were run by the human being. So what I'm saying is that's what satire, so examples, parody and satire, that's what the Bible is. So what is the satire about? So if you look at the Bible, crash course. This is the best crash course of the Bible. The Bible, and if you know how you know with satire, that the first 3 chapters of the book are seemingly like out of this world. Like God said, let there be light, and then there was light. And then God said, and then on the 3rd day he creates the sun and the moon. And then, you know what I mean? That is not a historical account. It is not history, it is literature. Why do I say it's literature? Because obviously the author is writing it in an illustration. He's illustrating what happened in the beginning. He's not saying that there was a what xenon atom, and the xenon atom reacted to this, and that's what formed the actual. So not a scientific account, it's not a historical account, it is a pure literature. And in this literature, the moral of the story is this. The God, right, so this, remember there's an author. And this is what I want to make, or the spirit that inspired the writings. Is the character in the story, is the God of the story that creates life. And the whole point here is so that in this life he creates his own image. So the God creates life so that he can take up his own image and enjoy the fruits of his creation. Right. So God created life, created his own image, man, and he wants to take up his own image so that he can enjoy the fruits of his creation. But there's a problem. There's a process that the God of the Bible has to go through. He sets up his people, now a priesthood nation, and he makes a covenant with them. But they rebel. And then he promises to appear and restore them. Right. That's basically what's happened. So the first aspect of the Bible literature is a story, satire, parody, telling you about a God that created life, and he created his own image, and the hope was that he was going to take up his own image to enjoy the fruits of his own creation. So what I mean by take up his own image, become a son of a man. And this is why the God of the Bible is called Jehovah. This is the Latin translation of the word, but that means he will become. That's the name of this God. Right. So that is the story. So remember, there's a difference between the characters in the story, the God of the story, the people, the patriarchs, and the priesthood nation in the story is called Israel. And they rebel, and he promises, the God of the Bible promises to appear like a David, from the line of David, of the root of Israel. And you know what I mean? That's the story told. You know. And unfortunately he doesn't pitch. He sends some guy, Jesus, right, who says, no, the coming Son of Man is still coming. Right. And then Jesus makes a statement and says that, hey, if you've seen me, you've seen the Son of Man. The Son of Man, the one that he will become, the one that will become a king forever and establish a paradise on earth. So this is the idea. So the spirit of the Bible is telling the story, and the purpose of the story, fundamentally, I have to say, is to inspire somebody in real life. Since this story is a parody of real life, is to inspire somebody to realize that, hang on, who is this God? Somebody has to become this king forever. So the point of the author of the spirit that inspired the writing is 2 points. Right? Make people in real life comfortable with this idea. Make them aware of an idea that there's a God that will come. And you see here, Jesus says, no, he's coming. The Son of Man is coming in the clouds. Right? Right. So make people aware that he's coming. Unfortunately, because of the doctrines, this is hidden. This is hidden, it's not something that's apparent. But number 2, to inspire someone to dare to be that guy. So once you recognize the principle from the literature, it's like, yo, that's a story, that's a nice story. Recognize, extract the principle that, whoa, somebody has to apply the principle. So the point of the Bible is to inspire action, is to get someone, a son of a man, pregnant with the idea, and hopefully get a son of man who is capable, pregnant with the idea, and in a position to become this character in the story. So that's what the Bible is. So it's taken, unfortunately, as a Bible that's a historical account that people just have to believe and hope. Right? And this is because of the doctrine. But in fact, if you look at the author's intent is to disclose in a fictional context his intent to become a son of man, and then inspire himself or inspire the spirit that wrote this, that knows what this is about, inspire himself or create a net or a trap for himself to be able to respond and be like, hang on, I have to be that son of man, that king forever. And do that. So you see what the Bible is. It's a parody and a satire for an actual reality. So for you to be able to perceive this, you must be able to recognize principles. The first step of black magic, you gotta have that ability to recognize the principles, extract the principles from the story, and be able to recognize them when they play out. And I think I'm gonna end it there. On to the next one. Sweet.